The briefcase hit the bench with a rich, unmistakable thud, too heavy for paperwork, too intentional to ignore. Judge Judy did not blink, but the man standing before her, wrapped in designer confidence and a watch worth more than the courtroom lights, smiled like the world was already his. The room held its breath as he nudged the case forward, because everyone knew whatever was inside would change everything. But before we dive in, tell me, where are you watching from? And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. The briefcase sits between them like a live wire, shiny, silent, and wrong. No one touches it. No one breathes too loudly. Even the courtroom lights seem to hesitate above it, as if afraid of what it carries. The bailiff shifts his weight, a subtle movement that ripples through the entire room. Maria stands rigid beside her table, fingers laced so tightly her knuckles lose their color. She is staring at the briefcase, but not with curiosity. This is fear. Fear of something she has already felt, survived, and hoped she would never see again. Across from her, Ethan Royce adjusts the cuff of his designer suit with a soft, deliberate motion, the kind men practice in front of mirrors. His confidence does not walk into the room, it glides. His presence seems to dim the oxygen around him. Even the bench seems smaller beneath his shadow. Judge Judy's expression does not change. She has seen everything arrogance can invent, but something about the metallic gleam of that untouched briefcase draws her gaze with the patience of someone who knows exactly what danger looks like, because she has ruled on it 1,000 times. She leans slightly forward, not enough to show interest, just enough to remind Ethan that she is not impressed. "Mr. Royce," she says, her voice level, clean and sharp enough to cut the air. "Why is there a briefcase on my bench?" Ethan smiles, slow and polished. "Your Honor, it contains documents relevant to today's matter. I wanted to ensure everything was presented properly." The faintest ripple moves through the gallery, disbelief mixed with curiosity. Properly. A word like that coming from a man like him lands strangely, as if it arrived wearing the wrong suit. Judy does not blink. "Bailiff, bring it here." Ethan's smile flickers. It is quick, half a second, a crack in the marble. But it is enough for Judy to note, and once she notes something, it is permanent. The bailiff approaches the briefcase cautiously, as though it might hiss. The clasp clicks open with a sound far too loud for the quiet room. Inside, instead of stacks of legal documents or business papers, lies a velvet pouch and a thick sealed envelope. White, expensive, deliberate. Maria exhales shakily. Ethan stops watching the judge and starts watching the envelope, the way someone watches a secret slipping out of their hands. Judy lifts the envelope with 2 fingers, examining its weight as if she can feel the intention inside it. She looks at Ethan, her gaze steady and level, nothing softened, nothing rushed. "Mr. Royce," she says quietly, "before I open this, is there anything you would like to confess?" The room freezes around the question. All eyes turn to Ethan. His smile finally stops pretending. For the first time, a shadow crosses his face, thin, nervous, undeniable, just as Judy begins to break the seal. Ethan laughs. Too quickly, too brightly, the kind of laugh that tries to erase what was just revealed. It rings through the courtroom like a cheap performance in an expensive suit. No one laughs with him. Judge Judy does not move. Her fingers rest lightly on the envelope she holds, the seal barely cracked, the truth still folded inside like a blade waiting to open. Ethan's smile widens, but the edges are tight now, shaky, stretched by nerves rather than confidence. "Your Honor," he says, smoothing the front of his jacket, "I think there has been a misunderstanding." Maria tenses. She has heard those exact words from him before, always right before something worse. Judy tilts her head. "Misunderstanding? You placed a sealed envelope in a velvet pouch on my bench. You will explain both." Ethan gestures lightly, palms up as if offering peace. "The watch," he nods to the velvet pouch, "is simply a token of appreciation, a gift. I had it made before I even arrived today." Judy lifts the pouch, loosens the drawstring, and slides the watch out with a slow, deliberate movement. The metal catches the fluorescent lights, throwing small shards of reflected brightness across the bench. It is stunning, luxury made visible. But the engraving is what freezes the room. JJ with gratitude. Today's date. Judy studies the watch with the same expression one might use while examining an insect pinned under glass. A gift, she repeats, her voice flat. Ethan nods quickly. Yes, a gesture of respect. Maria releases a faint, bitter breath. Respect. That is not what this man gives. It is what he buys, or tries to. Judy taps the face of the watch once with her fingernail, a sound sharp enough to make Ethan blink. So this was made before the hearing? Of course, he says, but his voice thins at the edges. Interesting, Judy replies, because this engraving suggests you planned today's outcome and my reaction before any testimony was taken. She lowers the watch, leveling her gaze at him. Who told you this was appropriate? Ethan's jaw tightens. No one told me anything. I am merely, generous. Generosity, Judy says, is not premeditated persuasion. The gallery murmurs, small ripples of agreement and disbelief. Maria steps forward slightly, her voice trembling but clear. He tried to be generous with me too, Your Honor. When I refused, he made my life impossible. Ethan snaps, sharp and defensive. That is not true. Quiet. Judy's command cuts through the room, cold and immediate. Ethan's mouth shuts, but his eyes flick toward his assistant, Colin, sitting just behind him. A silent, desperate plea. Colin looks down at his shoes, shoulders tightening. Judy notices. She notices everything. She turns back to Ethan. A custom watch, today's date, a sealed envelope, and a look that tells me you are praying I do not open it. Ethan's throat works, struggling to swallow. Judy slides the envelope closer, her voice a measured blade. Mr. Royce, why do you look at your assistant every time I ask you a question? Ethan straightens his suit as if posture alone could rewrite his story. But the room has changed. Confidence no longer protects him, it only makes the cracks more visible. Judge Judy studies him with the calm of someone who has already read the ending of a book everyone else is just beginning. She does not raise her voice. She does not lean forward. She simply waits. And waiting in her courtroom is a weapon. Ethan clears his throat too loudly. Your Honor, my assistant, well, he is inexperienced. I believe he has misunderstood your questions. Colin stiffens. His hands curl into fists small enough to hide but tight enough to tremble. Judy's gaze shifts to him. Mr. Doyle, do you feel misunderstood? Colin's eyes dart to Ethan. There it is, the silent command, the unspoken threat, the weight of a boss who has never heard the word no. Ethan's stare is sharp, warning, a quiet order wrapped beneath a smile. Colin swallows. I just handle scheduling, ma'am. Judy narrows her eyes. Yet you looked terrified when I asked your employer a simple question. Ethan laughs again, but this time the sound has lost its shine. Your Honor, come on, this is absurd. Maria flinches at the sound of his dismissal. She has lived under that tone for months. Dismissal followed by pressure, pressure followed by consequences. Judy lifts the engraved watch once more, letting it sway gently between her fingers. What else is absurd, Mr. Royce? Gifts engraved with today's date? A sealed envelope stamped by a private courier? Or the fact that your assistant appears ready to pass out? The gallery shifts, whispers rising like wind before a storm. Ethan's mask tightens. I do not control him. Colin's shoulders jerk at the words, not because they are false, but because they are true in the worst way. Maria steps forward slightly, voice soft but shaking. He does control him, Your Honor. He controls everyone he thinks he can get something from. Ethan snaps toward her, eyes flashing with anger. Stay out of this. Stop, Judy cuts in. The command is low, final, unmovable. Ethan freezes. Everyone freezes. Judy continues. Mr. Royce, arrogance is not an argument. Neither is intimidation. A flush rises across Ethan's neck. His fingers twitch, adjusting his tie, adjusting his cuff, adjusting everything except his behavior. Judy taps the envelope once. If you are so confident this is all a misunderstanding, then why does your assistant look like a man carrying a secret? Colin looks up, eyes rimmed with fear, lips parted as if words want to escape but do not dare. Judy sees it. The entire room sees it. It is simple, she says. Either your assistant does not know anything, or he knows too much. Ethan's jaw clenches, a crack forming in the polished stone of his certainty. Slowly, unmistakably, Colin lowers his gaze and shakes his head. A tiny movement, a quiet betrayal, a truth beginning to breathe. Judy leans toward Colin, voice razor soft. "Mr. Doyle, what exactly did he ask you to prepare for today?" Colin's hands tremble before he even speaks. Not dramatically, just enough for the courtroom to feel the shift, the way animals sense an oncoming storm before the thunder arrives. Judge Judy turns her full attention toward him, and it is like watching a spotlight cut through fog. Colin stiffens, breath caught between his ribs as if inhaling too loudly might set Ethan off. "Mr. Doyle," Judy says gently, which somehow creates more tension than yelling ever could. "What exactly did he ask you to prepare for today?" Colin's eyes dart to Ethan. The reaction is instinctive, fear dressed in silence. Ethan gives a small shake of his head, barely noticeable, but Judy sees it. Everyone sees it. It is not guidance, it is control. "Colin," Ethan says, his tone silky but strained, "remember what we discussed. Keep it simple." Judy's gaze snaps to Ethan. "You do not speak for him, not here, not today." The gallery exhales. Ethan does not. Colin opens his mouth, tries to form words, but they come out thin and tangled. I was told to bring the briefcase." "Told?" Judy presses. He nods, swallowing hard. "Yes, ma'am." "By whom?" Colin hesitates, a long, trembling pause. His eyes glass over with the weight of unspoken truth. He has carried this secret long enough to know that speaking it will break something, maybe his job, maybe his safety, maybe the version of himself that has learned to survive under Ethan Royce. "By Mr. Royce," he whispers. The room stills. Ethan's face drains of color, then floods with fury in the next breath. "That's a lie," he snaps. "I never—" "Quiet," Judy orders, her voice low, steady, immovable. Ethan shuts his mouth, jaw locked. Colin continues, voice cracking. He told me to bring the briefcase, set it on the bench before the hearing, and say nothing about what was inside." Maria closes her eyes slowly, as if she's been waiting for someone, anyone, to speak truth out loud. Judy leans back slightly, studying the young man before her. "Why did he insist you keep silent?" Colin's hands clench around the chair, knuckles blanching. Because he said if anyone asked, the watch and the letter were just miscommunications, and that misunderstandings are easier to defend when they come from employees." A ripple of discomfort spreads across the gallery. Ethan shoots up from his chair, furious. "You ungrateful—" "Sit down," Judy says, her tone enough to silence an entire city. Ethan lowers himself, but every muscle in his body vibrates with barely restrained panic. Colin breathes shakily. "He told me to smile, to act normal, to make sure nothing looked intentional." Judy turns toward the briefcase, then to the envelope still lying near her hand. Her voice is quiet, almost reflective. "Intentional. That's an interesting word, Mr. Doyle." Colin nods, blinking back tears. "There's something else in the envelope." A chill rolls through the courtroom. Judy's eyes sharpen. "Something else?" Colin's voice drops to a whisper. "Yes, Your Honor. Something he told me never to mention, not to anyone." Judy rests her fingertips on the envelope. "Then I believe it is time we see what your employer has been hiding." Judge Judy holds the envelope as if it were a fuse, thin, delicate, and one tug away from revealing the explosion hiding inside. The courtroom leans forward. Even Ethan stops breathing. The paper tears with a soft whisper, a sound far too gentle for the violence it brings. Judy slides a single sheet out, thick stock, elegant, embossed with a seal meant to impress the gullible. The moment her eyes reach the first line, her expression does not change. That is how the room knows something is terribly wrong. Ethan shifts in his seat, his polished calm slipping like wet paint. "Your Honor," he says quickly, "I can explain whatever—" "Do not speak," Judy replies, voice steady, eyes still scanning the page. Maria watches Judy's face, searching for clues in the judge's silence. She sees none. Judy has perfected the art of reading disaster without giving the disaster the satisfaction of seeing her react. Finally, Judy lifts the page high enough for the courtroom to see. The header alone sends a chill through the air. "A statement of gratitude from Judge Judith Schindlin." Gasps echo. Ethan flinches. Judy reads aloud, her tone evenly carved. I, Judge Judith Schindlin, wish to acknowledge the extraordinary generosity and moral integrity of Mr. Ethan Royce. Ethan's eyes widen, panic flashing like broken light. In recognition of his contributions to fairness, business ethics, and charitable compassion. Judy lowers the paper. This is quite the endorsement, Mr. Royce. Maria cannot speak. The lie is too elaborate, too bold, too designed to suffocate the truth. Ethan stands abruptly, hands raised. Your Honor, that document it's a draft I never approved. My PR firm. Sit, Judy commands. He sits. Colin's chair squeaks as he pulls back instinctively, as if trying to shrink out of Ethan's orbit. Judy continues. The signature at the bottom, she taps it, is mine. It is a forgery, Ethan blurts. Judy lifts a brow. Indeed it is, a poor one at that. The tension fractures. Her calm tone makes the truth hit harder than shouting ever could. Maria whispers, he planned all of this before we even walked in. Colin nods weakly. He rehearsed it, Your Honor. Told me if things looked unstable, I should help redirect attention. The letter was supposed to make you think he was a man of integrity. Ethan snaps at him. You little... Do not finish that sentence, Judy warns. Silence crashes down like a gavel. Judy lifts the forged endorsement once more, letting the gallery absorb every fraudulent word. Mr. Royce, this letter is premeditated manipulation. It was not created by a PR firm. It was created by someone who believed he could script justice. Ethan's face reddens, fury and fear competing beneath his skin. And worst of all, Judy continues quietly, you signed my name to your lies. Her voice drops to a whisper of steel. Why did you think that would work? Ethan's mask finally fractures, his mouth opens, but no words come. Judy sets the letter down between them. Mr. Royce, when exactly did you decide justice was something you could purchase? Ethan's smile is gone, replaced by something tighter, thinner, like a man realizing the floor beneath him is no longer solid. His fingers twitch against the table, tapping a silent rhythm of panic he cannot hide. Judge Judy rests her hands calmly on the bench, her expression carved from steady granite. She has watched arrogance unravel thousands of times, but rarely this quickly, and never with a custom-engraved watch gleaming like evidence under the lights. Mr. Royce, she says, I asked you a question. Ethan inhales sharply, a breath too shallow to steady him. Your Honor, he begins, voice shaking at the edges, this is not what it looks like. Maria lets out a quiet, humorless laugh. It looks exactly like what it is. He snaps toward her, desperate. You do not know anything about... Enough, Judy cuts in. Her tone is not loud, but it silences him instantly. You are finished speaking over people in this courtroom. Ethan swallows, the movement stiff, forced. Sweat beads lightly along the hairline he keeps obsessively immaculate. His confidence has not just slipped, it has fled. Judy reaches for the forged letter, tapping it once against the bench. You planned to influence the court. You prepared a falsified endorsement with my signature. You commissioned a luxury gift with today's date, and you expected none of this to be questioned? Ethan opens his mouth, but no words come. His throat seems to lock around the truth he refuses to face. Maria steps forward, voice aching but strong. Your Honor, he did the same thing to me, not with letters, but with money. He told me if I kept quiet about what he did to my business, he would help me back on my feet. Ethan's eyes widen. Panic, not anger this time. That was not bribery. It was a transaction, Judy asks, a way to silence someone you wronged. He shakes his head violently. I was trying to fix things. No, Judy says, you were trying to bury them. The words land hard. Even the gallery feels it, a collective inhale, an unspoken agreement with the truth laid bare. Maria pulls out her phone with trembling hands. I saved the texts. I knew someday someone might need to see them. Judy gestures. Approach. The texts illuminate the screen, long strings of messages dripping with money, promises, pressure. Withdraw your complaint and I will make sure your business survives. Do not fight me. You will not win. Everyone listens to me. Judy reads quietly, her mouth tightening into a thin, disappointed line. Mr. Royce, she says softly, do you understand that bribery, intimidation, and manipulation are not forms of conflict resolution? Ethan looks down at his hands. They are shaking. For the first time, he looks small. Judy closes the phone screen with a firm tap. The court is not a marketplace, and you cannot buy my judgment. The gallery murmurs, agreement building like a quiet storm. Judy places the briefcase back on the bench. We are not done with this evidence, Mr. Royce, not even close. The courtroom feels smaller now, as if Ethan's shrinking confidence is pulling the walls inward. His breath grows uneven, each inhale tighter than the last. The man who walked in 10 feet tall now seems barely 5. Judge Judy watches him quietly, the kind of stillness that makes liars sweat. She does not press him. She does not need to. Pressure does the work for her. Ethan tries to regain composure, smoothing his tie with shaking fingers. Your Honor, he begins, voice pitched too high, I want to make something very clear. I've never attempted to manipulate this court. Judy raises one eyebrow. Not high, just enough to tell the room how absurd that sentence sounds. Maria folds her arms, her fear replaced by a hard-earned steadiness. That is all you do, Ethan. Manipulate, intimidate. And when that stops working, you throw money at the mess you created. He wheels toward her, desperation cracking his charm. You do not understand what I was trying to do for you. For me? Maria steps forward. My business almost collapsed because you ghosted me after promising a contract. When I pushed back, you accidentally copied a competitor on our emails. And then you offered me money to pretend it never happened. Ethan's composure wavers like glass in an earthquake. That was a mistake. I was trying to help. Judy cuts in, calm as ever. Mr. Royce, help is what people give without expecting silence in return. Her words strike him harder than the evidence has. His shoulders sag as if she siphoned the last bit of strength from his spine. Colin glances at Ethan, then at Judy, finally finding a sliver of courage. Your Honor, there were other times. Ethan spins toward him, panic igniting. Colin, stop. You do not know what you're saying. Colin flinches, but continues. He told me to create fake meeting notes for clients who didn't agree with him. He said it was controlling the narrative. The gallery murmurs, a wave of disbelief. Judy nods slowly. Controlling the narrative. Interesting phrasing. Ethan stumbles over his defense. Those clients they misunderstood. I was trying to prevent confusion. You were rewriting reality, Judy says, a habit that seems to follow you everywhere. Ethan's breathing accelerates. His eyes dart across the room, at Maria, at Colin, at the briefcase, anywhere but the judge who refuses to let him escape the truth. His voice fractures. You are all twisting this. I am the one who made opportunities for people. I gave chances, connections, and took advantage of anyone who said no, Maria finishes. Her voice is soft. His reaction is not. Ethan slams his palm on the table. I tried to elevate you, all of you, and this is how you repay me? Silence swallows the room. Judy lets the outburst sit in the air, heavy and revealing. Then, quietly, Mr. Royce, arrogance does not collapse loudly. It collapses exactly like this, one truth at a time. He freezes, breath caught. Judy shifts her gaze to the assistant. Mr. Doyle, you said earlier there was more. What else do you need this court to know? Colin's phone trembles in his hand, the screen glowing like a confession he never meant to reveal. The room leans toward it, hungry, afraid, expectant. Judge Judy shifts her focus to the device, her expression unreadable. Mr. Doyle, she says softly, is this the more you referred to? Colin nods, his breath unsteady. Yes, Your Honor. It is audio from earlier this week. He hesitates, voice cracking. I recorded it because I was scared. Ethan's head snaps toward him. You recorded me? The words are not loud, but they bleed disbelief and betrayal. Two emotions he is not used to feeling. Colin grips the phone tighter. You told me to place the briefcase on the bench before you arrived. You said it would smooth the path. I did not understand what you meant until today. A ripple moves through the gallery like heat off asphalt. Judy extends her hand. Bring it here. Colin stands, nearly stumbling as he approaches the bench. Judy takes the phone from him with steady fingers. The courtroom goes silent, so silent it feels like the entire building is waiting. She presses play. Ethan's voice fills the room, confident, rehearsed, dripping with entitlement. Everyone has a price, even the ones who pretend they do not. A gasp spreads across the gallery. Maria's knees weaken. She grips the edge of her table to stay standing. It is one thing to know the truth. It is another to hear it spoken so casually. The recording continues, Ethan giving instructions. The judge is sharp, but she respects status. The briefcase sends a message. The watch does the rest. Colin squeezes his eyes shut. Ethan does the opposite. His eyes blow wide, panic detonating behind them. He lunges to his feet. That is taken out of context. Judy holds up a hand without looking at him. Sit. The command lands like a dropped hammer. Ethan collapses back into his chair, breath ragged. The audio plays on. Trust me, Colin. People pretend to be immune to influence. They are not. They never have been. The last sentence drops into the room like a stone into deep water, silent at first, then rippling outward. Judy pauses the recording. The silence that follows is colder than any verdict. Ethan's face drains of color. He looks like a man watching the ground open beneath him. The arrogance he carried like armor has become a weight dragging him under. Maria's eyes fill, not with sadness, but with vindication. For the first time, she sees the truth laid bare outside her own memory. Judy places the phone gently on the bench. Her voice measured. Mr. Royce, this recording confirms intent, not confusion, not misunderstanding, intent. Ethan stammers. Your Honor, I can explain. No, she replies, calm but absolute. You cannot. Her gaze slices through him, stripped of patience, stripped of illusion. The question now is not whether you acted improperly. It is why you believed you could get away with it. Ethan exhales shakily, the fight draining from him. Judy leans back, eyes narrowing. Because what this recording suggests is only the beginning. The last echo of Ethan's voice, everyone has a price, hangs in the courtroom like smoke that refuses to clear. It lingers in the rafters, in the faces watching him, in the silence that follows a man's self-destruction. Ethan sits frozen, as if the chair itself has swallowed him. For the first time since walking into the courtroom, he looks small, like the world he built out of money and influence is collapsing one brick at a time. Judge Judy lets the silence stretch. It is not punishment. It is truth settling into every corner of the room. Maria inhales shakily. The sound is soft, but it carries the weight of months, fear, anger, humiliation, and the exhausting effort of fighting someone no one believed she could stand up against. Her voice breaks the stillness with gentle but steady force. Your Honor, this is what he does. He tells people they have a price. He tells them they owe him. He told me the same thing, just without the recording to prove it. Ethan flinches at her words, not with indignation, with shame, or maybe recognition. Judge Judy turns her gaze on him, not sharp this time, but disappointed. And somehow that strikes harder. Mr. Royce, she says quietly, what I heard on that recording was not a misunderstanding. It was a philosophy. Ethan's throat bobs as he tries to swallow something. Guilt, fear, maybe the truth that has finally caught up to him. Your Honor, I said things I did not mean. Judy raises an eyebrow. People do not rehearse things they do not mean. He looks down. His reflection in the polished table stares back, distorted, fractured, unrecognizable. Colin steps forward a half step, gathering courage like a man pulling air into collapsed lungs. Your Honor, he told me once, influence is the real currency. Money is just the packaging. Colin's voice trembles. He meant it. The gallery murmurs, shock layered with disgust. Ethan covers his face with one hand. His voice emerges muffled, thin. I was trying to protect myself. From what? Judy asks. He hesitates, a long, fragile moment where he seems to sift through excuses and finds they no longer fit him. From losing, he whispers. The truth is quiet, painfully quiet, but it is the first honest thing he has said all day. Maria's eyes soften, not with forgiveness, but understanding. Everyone loses, Ethan. It is part of being human. The only difference is the rest of us do not destroy people to avoid it. Her words unravel something in him. His shoulders slump, no longer held up by ego or denial. He looks like a man realizing his armor was made of paper, and the world finally saw it. Judge Judy folds her hands. Her tone shifts, still firm but grounded in moral clarity. Mr. Royce, remorse does not erase the harm you caused, but acknowledging the truth is the first step toward understanding why you caused it. Ethan lifts his head, eyes glassy but open in a way they have never been. Your Honor, I do not know how I became this person. Judy studies him, the courtroom waiting. Her voice lowers, steady and surgical. Then let us find out, Mr. Royce, because the real pattern starts in the next folder. The courtroom lights feel harsher now, glaring down on Ethan like truth has finally found a spotlight. He does not look up. He does not defend himself. He just waits, like a man preparing for the impact he once believed he was immune to. Judge Judy lifts the next folder slowly, deliberately, the manila edges worn from handling but heavy with what it contains. The room stills, as if every sound has been swallowed by anticipation. This, she says, tapping the file, is your history, Mr. Royce. Ethan shifts, voice barely audible. I do not have a history. Judy raises one eyebrow. Everyone has a history. Yours simply stopped cooperating with your money. Maria's breath catches as Judy opens the folder. Inside are emails, notes, printed screenshots, details carefully collected by people Ethan once dismissed, ignored, or silenced. Judy reads. Her voice is calm. Her words are not. 3 years ago, you promised a contractor a lucrative partnership. When he refused to give you exclusive rights to his designs, you withdrew funding and emailed a competitor. Ethan closes his eyes. 2 years before that, you offered an event planner a generous bonus in exchange for prioritizing your brand over her other clients. When she refused, you wrote a negative review that cost her work. Murmurs ripple through the gallery. Judy turns a page. And here, 1 year ago, you sent a graphic designer a message saying, and I quote, "You will regret making this difficult for me." Maria's stomach twists. The words feel familiar. Too familiar. Ethan finally looks up, eyes shining with something close to desperation. Your Honor, I was pressured. The business world is ruthless. People expect results. Judy leans back slightly. Pressure does not create predators. Choices do. Colin shifts beside Ethan, guilt written across his face. Your Honor, he always said losing meant weakness. He said people who said no were obstacles to be corrected. Ethan snaps, I never said that. You said worse, Colin whispers. Ethan recoils as though struck. His shoulders collapse inward, as if the truth has weight and it is finally settled on him. Maria steps forward, voice steady. He ruined my contract because I refused private meetings. That was my line, and he punished me for drawing it. Judy watches Ethan carefully. Mr. Royce, silence is not remorse, and excuses are not explanations. Ethan tries again. I built everything I have by making moves, seizing opportunities. I never meant to hurt anyone. That, Judy says softly, is what all harm starts with, intention disguised as ambition. He looks away, blinking hard, the mask cracking again, this time not from anger, but from something deeper, something raw. Guilt. For once, the room does not look at Ethan with fear or admiration. They look at him with clarity, with understanding of exactly who he has been behind the money, behind the confidence, behind the armor. A pattern, a predator of boundaries, a collector of silence. Judy closes the folder, the sound loud and final. Mr. Royce, she says, the question is no longer whether you acted improperly. It is why you believed you had the right to. Ethan stares at her, breath trembling. Judy leans forward, her tone deepening. Because what comes next explains everything you have tried so hard to hide. Ethan doesn't look at the folder in Judge Judy's hands. He looks at his own reflection in the polished table, distorted, fractured, trembling. For the first time, he isn't afraid of losing a case. He's afraid of being seen. Judge Judy opens the folder slowly, as if she already knows its contents will hurt more than anything Ethan has faced today. The gallery leans in. Even Maria's breath stills. This is not evidence. It is revelation. Inside the folder sits a printed chain of late-night emails. The timestamp glows like a wound. Mr. Royce, Judy begins, Please explain why you were emailing the plaintiff at 1:17 in the morning. Ethan's head jerks up. Your Honor, those were clarifications about our contract negotiations. Maria shakes her head, her voice unexpectedly soft. They weren't about the contract. They were about me. Judy lifts the first email and reads aloud. You're making this harder than it needs to be, Maria. Let me guide you. Let me help you. You'll thank me later. The words hang heavy, patronizing, invasive. Maria closes her eyes, reliving it. It felt like a trap, Your Honor. Every message made it clear that saying no would cost me something. Ethan's voice cracks. I wasn't threatening you. Intent, Judy says, lies in how it is received, not how it is defended. She reads the next message. People like you don't usually get opportunities like this. Don't ruin it by being emotional. The gallery murmurs, a ripple of disgust and disbelief. Ethan's mask begins to collapse piece by piece. His hands shake. I was trying to keep communication open. Maria exhales, the sound both fragile and fierce. I spend hours each night afraid to reply and afraid not to. That isn't communication. That's control. Judy's expression shifts, subtle, sorrowful, precise. Mr. Royce, this isn't about money anymore. This is about boundaries you never learned to respect. Ethan opens his mouth, but no excuses come. Only silence. A silence that speaks of exhaustion, of guilt, of something buried deeper than arrogance. Colin steps forward, voice barely above a whisper. Your Honor, he sent messages like that to others too. He said it was confidence building, but he meant pressure. Ethan whispers, Colin, please. It's not anger, not command, just a plea. Judy looks at him differently now, not softer, but sharper, peering past the layers he's used to shield himself. You said earlier, she reminds him quietly, that you didn't know how you became this person. Ethan nods, eyes shining with something raw. I didn't. I thought I was doing what I was supposed to, what I was taught. Judy tilts her head, curiosity pricking through the disappointment. Taught? By whom? Ethan hesitates, his jaw tightens. The answer trembles behind his teeth, afraid to be spoken. Maria watches him almost sympathetically. Ethan, this didn't start with us, did it? His eyes flick toward Colin, then toward the floor, then back to Judy, as if choosing where the truth should land. He finally whispers, Your Honor, you don't understand what failing meant in my family. The confession quivers in the air, unfinished, heavy, changing the room's temperature in a single breath. Judy leans forward, voice low and unwavering. Then explain it, Mr. Royce, because everything hinges on what you say next. Ethan doesn't lift his eyes when he speaks. His voice comes out cracked, stripped of the polish he arrived with, like truth has finally sanded down the last layer of arrogance he was hiding behind. My father, Ethan murmurs, staring at the floor as if it might swallow him. Believed failure was contagious. The courtroom goes utterly still. Even Maria, whose anger has held her upright for months, softens her posture just slightly, because this tone isn't manipulation, it's memory. Judge Judy watches him carefully. Explain. Ethan's breath hitches. If I lost a deal, if someone told me no, if anything didn't go the way he expected. He made sure I felt it. Shame, humiliation, silence. He'd say, Royces don't lose, not ever. Ethan swallows, voice thinning. So I didn't let myself lose. I made sure other people did. A quiet ache pulses through the room. Not forgiveness, not sympathy. Recognition. Colin steps forward timidly. Your Honor, it's true. His voice shakes. His father would call during meetings. If Ethan didn't sound confident, he'd berate him on speakerphone, said, weakness smells. Ethan's jaw tightens, not in defiance, but in remembered pain. I thought if I didn't dominate the room, I'd be nothing. Maria's eyes soften, her voice cautious. Ethan, that doesn't justify what you did, but it explains why you couldn't hear no. Ethan nods slowly, the smallest movement he's made since this section began. I wasn't trying to bribe you, he says to Judy. I was trying to avoid being the failure my father believes I am. The briefcase, the letter, the watch. None of it was about confidence. It was about fear. Judy listens without interrupting, her expression a careful balance of firmness and humanity. She rests her hands on the bench, leaning just slightly forward. "Mr. Royce," she says quietly, "fear does not give you permission to bend the world around your insecurities." He bows his head, defeated. "I know, Your Honor." Maria's voice wavers. "Ethan, you hurt my business. You humiliated me. I spent weeks wondering what I'd done wrong when all I did was exist outside your control." Ethan turns to her, not defensive, not manipulative, not calculating. "I'm sorry," he whispers, "and not because I'm being exposed, because He stops, swallowing hard, "because I didn't see you as a person, just an obstacle." The admission is so quiet it almost dissolves into the air. Colin looks at Ethan, something like pity flickering in his eyes. "You could have been better," he says gently. "You still can be." The room breathes together, heavy, cautious, witnessing something rare, the cracking open of a man's false identity. Judge Judy's voice breaks the silence, soft but immovable. "Understanding the past does not erase the consequences of the present." Ethan nods again, accepting the truth with a kind of weary surrender he has never shown before. Judy takes a long breath and closes the folder. "Mr. Royce, now we must discuss what accountability looks like for someone who's never faced it." Judge Judy folds her hands, the courtroom lit with a softer, almost somber glow. The storm has passed, now comes the quiet ache of aftermath, where truth is no longer shouting, just breathing. Ethan sits with his shoulders curved inward, an unfamiliar shape for a man used to standing above everyone. The arrogance is gone, the panic has quieted. What remains is a man stripped bare, no armor, no angle, no performance. Judge Judy studies him, and the silence that stretches between them feels intentional, almost painful. "Mr. Royce," she begins, her voice calm but unsparing, "accountability is not cruelty, it is clarity." Ethan nods once, slow, defeated, not resisting, not posturing, just listening. Maria watches him closely, her expression layered, anger softened by understanding, understanding fortified by hurt. She hasn't forgiven him, she isn't required to, but she finally sees the human beneath the damage. Judy lifts the forged letter between her fingers. "This will be reported." Ethan swallows. "I know. You attempted to influence the court," she continues. "That is not a misunderstanding. It is a violation." He nods again, a tremor moving through him. "I accept that." The room shifts. Not in shock, no one is shocked, but in recognition. This is the first moment Ethan has answered without justification, without deflection, without the cushioning of ego. Maria steps forward slightly, voice steady but trembling at the edges. "Your Honor, I'm not asking for revenge. I'm asking for acknowledgement. What he did cost me months of income. It stole my confidence. It made me feel small." She looks at Ethan. "I don't want him to suffer. I want him to see the suffering he caused." The words land gently, but they cut deeper than anger ever could. Colin nods beside her, timid but brave. He never saw people as people, only as problems to manage or opportunities to take. Ethan lowers his head. "I know," he whispers. "I know now." Judy takes a breath, slow and deliberate. "Mr. Royce, justice does not demand cruelty. It demands consequence. And sometimes," she adds, leaning forward slightly, "the hardest consequence is looking in the mirror without the shield of excuses." Ethan closes his eyes, the truth soaking into him, not burning, but heavy. Judy continues, her tone precise. "You will compensate Ms. Alvarez for the damages. You will write a formal apology, and the forged endorsement, along with your attempted influence of the court, will be reported to the network's legal department." Ethan inhales shakily, but doesn't argue. "Yes, Your Honor." Maria watches him with a complex expression, relief, sadness, release. The knot in her chest begins to loosen. This is not victory. It's closure. Judy softens her voice, just slightly. "Accountability isn't meant to destroy you, Mr. Royce. It's meant to rebuild you." He nods again, tears burning in the corners of his eyes. What you do after this, Judy adds, will determine whether this moment becomes your bottom or your turning point. Ethan's voice barely escapes him. I want it to be a turning point. For the first time, Maria believes he might mean it. Judy taps the bench lightly. Then before I deliver my final judgment, there's one last thing I need from you, Mr. Royce. Ethan rises slowly at Judge Judy's instruction. His knees don't lock with confidence this time. They wobble, barely holding the weight of a man realizing he's about to face the one task money has never been able to buy his way out of. Judge Judy folds her hands, her expression steady but heavy with purpose. Mr. Royce, she begins, before I issue my final judgment, I need you to do something you have avoided your entire life. Ethan's breath stutters. He does not ask what the request is. He already knows it won't be financial, strategic, or performative. It will be human, and that, for him, is the hardest currency of all. Maria stands quietly, her fingers twisting together, bracing for whatever happens next. Judy continues, You will look Ms. Alvarez in the eye and apologize, not with charm, not with excuses, not with fear of consequences, but with sincerity. She pauses, letting the expectation settle like gravity. And you will apologize not for what was exposed, but for what you did. Ethan stiffens, as if the blow lands physically. His throat tightens. His eyes flick to Maria, then immediately away. It is easier to face legal penalties than to face the person he hurt. Maria breathes in deeply, preparing herself too. Even as the victim, the moment feels too big, too raw to meet head-on without trembling. Mr. Royce, Judy says softly but firmly, begin. Ethan turns toward Maria. His jaw quivers, his shoulders slump, and suddenly he looks like a boy wearing a man's suit, collar too tight, sleeves too long, trying to appear bigger than he feels. Maria, his voice breaks. He clears it, but it does not strengthen. Ms. Alvarez, He swallows, closing his eyes. I don't know how to do this. Maria's expression softens, not with forgiveness, but recognition. Just speak the truth, she says quietly. He opens his eyes and meets hers. It is the first time today, maybe the first time ever, that he sees her not as a rival or an obstacle, but as a person standing in the rubble of his choices. Maria, he says again, shaking, I hurt you. I used my influence to pressure you. I dismissed your boundaries. I treated your work, your business, your dignity as things I could shape around my desires. A tear slips down his cheek, startling him. I made you feel small because I felt small. Maria's lips part. The room is silent but vibrating with emotional electricity. Ethan's voice drops to a whisper. I'm sorry. Not because I got caught, not because I'm standing here, but because I see it now. I see the damage I caused, and I'm ashamed. Maria breathes out a trembling exhale. Tears gathering, but not falling. She nods once, slowly, accepting the truth even if it cannot undo the harm. Judge Judy watches them both, her expression unreadable but her eyes glimmering with something quiet and human. Ethan wipes his face, barely holding himself together. He waits, waiting for the blow, the judgment, the ending, but Judy isn't finished. She leans forward slightly, her voice low enough that the weight of it drops straight into the center of his chest. Thank you for the apology, she says, but accountability does not end with words. A chill ripples through Ethan. Judy picks up her gavel, eyes fixed on him. Now, Mr. Royce, here is my ruling. The courtroom holds its breath as Judge Judy lifts her gavel, not as a weapon, but as a compass. Every eye locks onto her, every heartbeat pauses. Ethan stands there, stripped of all the things that once made him untouchable. Judge Judy looks at him for a long, deliberate moment, not with contempt, not with pity, with clarity, the kind that can only exist once every lie has been peeled away. Mr. Royce, she begins, her voice calm but carved from truth, today you learned something far more valuable than a verdict could ever teach you. Ethan's chest rises and falls, slow, uneven. He nods once, almost imperceptibly. You learned that influence without integrity is nothing, Judy continues. That money without morality is hollow. And that respect, true respect, cannot be bought, bargained, engraved, or sealed inside a briefcase. A faint tremor ripples through Ethan's hands. He clasps them together to steady the shaking. Judy turns to Maria. Ms. Alvarez, your strength in standing up for yourself is what allowed this truth to surface. Your courage protected not just your business, but the integrity of this courtroom. Maria's eyes well. For the first time since the hearing began, she feels something she hasn't felt in months. Vindication that doesn't rely on Ethan's downfall, but on her own resilience. Judy returns her attention to Ethan. You will compensate Ms. Alvarez in full for her financial losses. Additionally, you will issue a formal written apology, reviewed by the network's legal department and made available to the parties involved. Ethan nods again, voice barely audible. Yes, Your Honor. And, Judy adds, the matter of the forged endorsement and your attempted influence over this court will be referred to the network and appropriate legal channels. A flicker of fear crosses Ethan's face. But he doesn't argue. He doesn't plead. He simply absorbs it, as if he knows he deserves to. Judy studies him with a steadiness that softens just the smallest degree. But understand this, Mr. Royce. These consequences are not meant to destroy you. They're meant to force you to confront the person you've become and decide whether that's who you want to continue being. Ethan exhales a shaky breath. I don't, he whispers. Not anymore. Maria watches him closely. There's no satisfaction in seeing him unravel, only a quiet release of a weight she's carried for too long. Judy lifts her gavel. Then let this be the turning point. The room stills. The moment thickens. Judy brings the gavel down with a sharp, resonant crack. Judgment for the plaintiff. The echo rolls through the courtroom, heavy, final, cleansing. Maria closes her eyes. Ethan lowers his head. Colin wipes his face with the back of his sleeve. And Judy breathes, steady and certain, as justice settles over the room like clear air after a long storm. In the silence that follows, one truth emerges. Undeniable and timeless. Arrogance always collapses under the weight of its own lies, but character is something money can never buy.